Joining us now, State Senator, man of courage, Bill Liggin from Brunswick, Georgia, Republican. Senator, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on, John. Appreciate what you said about courage and fighting, and that's what we want our people to do. Is we need to keep up the fight and get out to vote, and they need to know that a lot of their legislators in Georgia are in the battle, and we're fighting, and we want to win this thing, and I think that we can win this thing on both levels, both at the Senate race and in this presidential mess that we have on our hands. So.
If you fight for them, they will fight for us. That's basically the message. If you fight, they just want you to be a fighter. And here's Senator Liggin retiring. I mean, he's not going to get seated in January, and he's out there fighting. Senator, I loved what you did last night. You put a petition together. There's another lawsuit that just got filed in Georgia by the Trump campaign, plus the Texas suit is going to be heard today. 17 states have enjoined that. Senator, can you outline the action that you have personally taken over the last 24 hours?
Sure. Well, actually, when the state of Texas filed their lawsuit, it was really a really help. And what that has done is it has put into right before the Supreme Court a lot of the issues that are very relevant to this election process that actually could allow the court to take actions to reverse this fraud. And so what we have done is we are filing what's called a friend of the court brief. When I say we, I'm meaning as many legislators as we can get to sign on to it from the state of Georgia are saying, yes, we agree with what the state of Texas is doing. We believe that laws were violated, and that violated the equal rights of all other people all across the nation and other states who followed the state election laws when it comes to voting in the presidential election. And at the very core of this is this settlement agreement that the Secretary of State entered into that changed the laws. That should have occurred through action of the General Assembly, and it did not happen. You mentioned these ballot drop boxes. That is occurring by rule of the State Board of Elections and Secretary of State Raffensperger. But there's no provision in Georgia law for that. In fact, the Georgia law is very specific about where voting can occur. You have to have these polling places, and people need to be there to observe. The public has the right to observe. The parties have the right to be there and observe it. When you have 40 or 50 ballot boxes, these drop boxes spread across the state, there may or may not be people there observing. And it's just contrary to law. That is a policy that should have been debated in the General Assembly. It has not been, and it needs to stop.
Why did Raffensperger add another 20 drop boxes for the runoff?
I cannot explain that to you, but that is an issue that we're addressing in this friend of the court brief. We're going to bring it before the United States Supreme Court in the context of the presidential election, that election did not occur according to Georgia law, and we're hoping that they're going to not seat the Georgia electors and put this back to the state legislature where we can determine how the electors should be cast.
Senator Bill Liggin with us, Republican State Senator, Georgia, Brunswick. So, Senator, your petition that you put out last night, what does it do?
Well, we just put out a notice. It's not really a petition. It's just a statement. We obviously couldn't call every legislator, but letting people know that if they want their legislators to have their names included on this friend of court brief that we're going to be filing a little later on today with the Supreme Court of the United States, that they just need to let us know, and we're going to be glad to add their name to it. We want as many of those state senators and state representatives that want to be included with this. And so Senator, we're collecting those signatures now, those signatures and approval from them now.
How many do you have now, Senator?
Well, I don't have the exact number, but we've had a good many come in, and in fact, there may be a point where we can't add everyone, but we're working hard on that brief, and we're still receiving calls and emails asked from fellows and legislators asking that they be included.
So, Senator, walk us through the friend of court brief from Texas that the Georgia's involved in. You're going to get people sign on. You got 4 states
Sure.
involved in this. 17 states haven't joined. Walk us through how this works in layman's terms today.
Sure. Well, the United States Constitution states that it is the legislature of each state that determines how electors can be cast, who elects the Electoral College, the representatives for that state. And the Supreme Court has said that that is an absolute power. It can be delegated, given, taken back, but it is the responsibility of the state legislature to do that. In conjunction with that, the legislatures are the ones that set the laws, that create the laws, that vote on the election laws. But when you have members of other branches of government, whether it be the executive or judicial branch, that are coming in and are interfering with the laws that the legislature has passed, well, that's a violation of the United States Constitution. And the Texas case is saying, well, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, you violated our rights under the law because our people in our state followed the laws set by the legislature. In Georgia, the Secretary of State has changed the rules and the laws. The legislature didn't. In Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court did. And so that's the essence of that lawsuit. And we're stepping in as legislators and saying, we agree with the state of Texas. This is what happened in Georgia. And so Supreme Court, you need to come in and fix this and order this issue to come back to the legislature for the legislature to address it. That's what we're asking.
Who would not sign that?
I'm sorry? I didn't.
Like, what Republican legislator in Georgia would not sign on to that? Like, what would be a reason for not signing on to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, there's some that are making arguments, well, this is not a valid, case. It's not a valid argument. It's going to be thrown out. Well, the Supreme Court has said that we're going to hear this case. They've ordered these states to file answers. I think the time was at 3 o'clock today. Mm-hmm. We're going to be filing our brief this afternoon as well once it's completed. So I can't answer that question, but I think that the point is we need to be fighting. This is a path that has opened up to us here in Georgia. We need to walk down this road. We need to make our arguments, and hopefully the Supreme Court will accept those arguments and will correct this error that's occurred in this election.
I'm live in Augusta. Joining us is Senator Bill Liggin. Bill was head of the hearing that was put on Thursday in Atlanta, and he is a Republican from Brunswick, Georgia. He's outgoing. He's retiring, but he is in the middle of this fight. So even outgoing, Bill Ligon is fighting tooth and nail. Boy, I've had a lot of people on my show, Senator. You probably explained this Texas lawsuit better and more saliently than anybody for people to understand. So filed in Texas, 17 states have joined it. Georgia is one of the states that you're filing against. Texas is filing against. You're trying to get legislators to sign on in support.
And be a part of that brief.
And be part of the brief. Okay, I get it. To be part of the brief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right.
And, all right. So you're trying to get senators to be part of the brief. The Supreme Court has already ordered the 4 states in question to present their defense by 3 o'clock?
Yes, that is my understanding, unless there's been a change or an extension overnight that I have not seen.
And you guys will be...
That is the timetable, yes.
You guys are going to be filing your final today. Who was that filed by? Is that filed by the Attorney General in Texas who actually files it?
Yeah, well, no. The Attorney General in Texas, he filed the lawsuit. The state of Georgia, working through the Attorney General, is going to file its answer. But this group of legislators is going to file what's called a friend of the court brief, where we get to go in and say, Supreme Court, this is what we think about this issue. This is why we think the law in the state of Georgia was violated, And this is why we think you should grant the relief that the state of Texas has asked for in this lawsuit. That's what we're going to be doing this afternoon. And so in essence, I said there's going to be, you'll have the Attorney General probably arguing one thing, and, a large group of legislators saying, no, Supreme Court, this is what has happened. Our prerogative in establishing the election laws for the state of Georgia has been taken by actions of the Secretary of State. Let me say one thing along those lines as well. The nation saw that in action last Thursday in this committee meeting when that security video of the State Farm Arena was presented, where you saw election workers go over to the section area where the press and the poll watchers were, telling them that counting was going to stop for the night. And then after they leave, they pull out boxes from under a table covered with a tablecloth and resume counting. Well, the state law is clear that, poll watchers are entitled to be there, and the press is entitled to be there. In essence, what happened is they ushered out the eyes and ears of the public so that counting could go on in secret. Now, it's been said, well, a representative of the state Secretary of State was there. He wasn't seen on the video, but if he was there, if he allowed that to happen, then that, in essence, is state sanctioning of that activity, and that is wrong in violation of the law. And so that's a part of our brief as well. So,
who is the Georgia Attorney General?
That is Chris Carr.
Is that a constitutional office?
That is a constitutional office elected. He's elected directly by the people of the state.
All right. So he was elected in 2018 along with everybody else, right?
Correct. Yes.
So Chris Carr, the AG, is going to be arguing against the Texas filing?
Right. Well, I do not know what position the state of Georgia in that context of their answer is going to take. I have not spoken with anyone. I don't know if they're going to come in and admit that, yes, there are violations that occurred. I mean, that certainly is possible. I just know that we have been working very hard and very diligently on our brief to present it to the court, because we want the court to know that from the perspective of many of our state legislators, that we feel that our rights, our responsibility to set these laws and ensure that elections occur according to these laws was taken and properly taken by the actions of the Secretary of State.
Amazing. So, based on your instincts, Bill, and of course this is all you can go by now, your instincts, Bill Liggin's instincts, Senator Liggin's internal clock, if you will. Do you think the Supreme Court is going to hear the case?
I think they're going to hear the case. Of course, you never know. They have asked for an answer from the states that have been sued, and so that means that those answers will be filed. They could rule based on the pleadings, or they could say, we want oral arguments and order the parties to appear before the court on a certain date. And then obviously they would be making a decision. I think that we have a shot at seeing this gross error in the election process corrected by the Supreme Court. And one of the prayers of relief sought by the state of Texas is that this would go back to the legislatures of these four states in accordance with the Constitution, and they will then decide how the electors of those states will be. They will actually elect the electors for that state. The Georgia legislature would then have to come together and vote on the slate of electors to go to the Electoral College.
And in that instance, you could do one of three things, right? You could vote that the electors vote for Trump. You could vote in the electors for Biden, which is
Right.
means you do nothing, or not do
Right.
nothing. Status quo. I didn't mean that. Do nothing. Vote for
Mm-hmm.
what's happening now. And the third is you don't seat anybody. Right. Those are the three options.
Well, you could do that, but I would say that it's a constitutional obligation of the legislature to seat someone, and failing to do that is not
Right.
taking responsibility for that decision.
Right. So you're either going to seat the electors for Trump or you're going to seat the electors for Biden if you are ruled back. Thank you for joining us, Senator Bill Liggin. This has been fascinating. Senator, while we're on the subject, so it's 5:00 today, and the Supreme Court says something. Define a win for the truth. Like, what would they say that you would say, wow, that's great. That went great. What would they say? What would they say?
A win would say, we agree with the state of Texas that their rights to the equal protection of the laws have been violated by Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And so we're going to send this back to these, and their legislatures are going to have to meet, and they're going to have to elect a slate of electors to go to the Electoral College and vote. That is a win for us.
That's a clear win.
In my opinion, here in Georgia. That's a clear win, yes.
That's a clear win. And what about if they say we're going to take oral arguments? That would be kind of a win, right?
That's still a win. You're still in the ballgame. You're still alive, and we're alive to fight another day.
Somebody texted and asked a question. Adam in Sandy Springs says, how many votes does it take to select the electors? And that would be 50% plus one, right?
50% plus one, yes.
Let's get to line number 2, Adam in Sandy Springs. Adam, you're on with Senator Liggin. You're live.
Hey, Senator Liggin, thank you so much for what you're doing, for holding the hearing to do some investigative work. We're behind you. I just want to encourage you to keep at it. I love it. What does it take if the Supreme Court does their job and sends it back to you guys to uphold the Constitution? What does it take to select the electors? Is it a 50%? When you guys debate it and decide, how does that look across the Senate and across the House?
Well, it would take 50% to do that. First of all, we would have to be caught. We would need to go into into a special session, and there's some debate on that. The governor would the easiest way would be for him to call it, but we may be able to call ourselves in on that. But then there would be debate on that, and a decision would be made. A vote would be taken, and it's going to be 50% plus one, and that would decide that vote. And we do have the Republicans control the Senate and the House. We have the majority in both houses, so I would expect that you would see a slate of electors that would vote for President Trump selected.
Adam, thank you. I'm going to read you a question from Tom in Tampa. Tom says, do we trust the Georgia legislator to choose Trump if indeed it gets back there?
And since we have the majority of Republicans in both houses, that would occur. It's possible that you could see one or two vote against a Republican slate. We'll just have to find out. And again, this is being able to live to fight another day, and that's a battle that we'll fight when that moment comes.
Okay, final call. Let's get to line 1. Stephanie in Tampa, Florida. Stephanie, you're on with Senator Liggin.
Hi, good work, Senator. I just wanted to tell you I saw Ken Paxton from Texas, the AG there, last night on Fox, and he said that he appreciates states like you're doing, to join as a friend of the court and file a brief, but what he wants even more is to join as a plaintiff. He wants you to join as a plaintiff.
Well, I think that this is the most viable option. I think that the fact that we're joining and filing a friend of the court brief in our capacity as legislators is going to speak volumes to the court. In order for the state to join, that would be a decision coming from the executive branch. I guess it's possible that we could enter into a settlement agreement with the state of Texas, just like a settlement agreement was entered into with the Democratic Party that resulted in these violations of the law. I think that would be great if we did that. We'll just have to see if that happens.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank Senator Bill Liggin for being with us. Senator, thank you for joining us. We're going to get you on again probably tomorrow to get your reaction. So thank you.